2025 has honestly not been very kind to the games industry. Between sweeping layoffs, shuttered studios, and some baffling publisher decisions, we've seen more than a few promising games quietly disappear before they ever got the chance to launch. Today we're looking at 5 recently canceled video games that honestly deserved better. These weren't just half-baked ideas, but games that had the potential to do something great before being taken out back and quietly buried. Let's start with one of the bigger licensed titles of the last few years, Black Panther. This was EA's first Marvel project under a new multi-title deal, officially announced back in 2023. It was being built by Cliffhanger Games, a new studio based in Seattle, led by veterans from Shadow of Mordor, Halo, and God of War. Strong pedigree, decent budget, and, most importantly, creative freedom. The goal? A single-player, third-person open-world game set in Wakanda, focused on letting players explore the culture, politics, and technology behind one of Marvel's richest worlds. It wasn't going to be a beat-em-up in a jungle situation. This was meant to be narrative first, choice-heavy, less Ubisoft formula, more RPG with action DNA. Then, in early 2025, right as internal dev sources started suggesting that the game was hitting vertical slice and ready for user testing, EA pulled the plug. The studio was dissolved. The game canceled. And just like that, 2 years of work was gone. Why did this happen? Reports point to a mix of cost-cutting and low confidence in superhero game performance after the underwhelming sales of Suicide Squad and Gotham Knights. EA reportedly decided to consolidate around safer bets, sports, and established live services, and walk away from the Marvel experiment. Tragic. This one's been a slow-motion train wreck for years, and it finally hit the wall in 2025. The Last of Us. Factions 2 was originally supposed to ship with Part 2, but as the story expanded, the multiplayer mode grew too big and was spun off into its own standalone game. So far, so good. By 2022, Naughty Dog was hiring for a massive online multiplayer project, and in 2023, they even showed off concept art and promised updates, but those updates never really came. Then came the Bungie review. See, as part of Sony's shift into live service games, they brought in Destiny's developers, Bungie, to evaluate all their multiplayer projects, and when they looked at Factions 2, they basically said, this won't keep players engaged for more than a few months. Sony listened, Naughty Dog scaled the team back, and eventually in 2025, the game was quietly scrapped. What's sad here isn't just that the game died, it's that it was never given a proper shot. Naughty Dog are incredible storytellers, but live service, not their world, and maybe this project would have failed, but we'll never really know, because in the end, Factions 2 was a casualty of Sony's messy pivot to multiplayer. But just before we talk about one of the absolute worst cancellations so far, these videos are not monetized and take a lot of time to research and make. If you enjoy and want to see more of it, please consider subscribing or leaving some of your thoughts in the comment. It's free and you can always change your mind later. Knights of the Old Republic. You already know the history. Originally developed by BioWare in 2003, widely considered one of the best RPGs ever made. The remake, announced in 2021, was supposed to be the big return of story-driven Star Wars. Sony was publishing, Lucasfilm was involved, Aspyr was developing, until they weren't. After a rocky internal demo in 2022, Embracer Group pulled the project from Aspyr and handed it to Saber Interactive. Then came more delays, budget issues, leadership changes, and eventually, 2025 hit. By quarter 2, Sony unlisted the trailer, Embracer stopped talking about it, and according to industry insiders, the project is either shelved indefinitely or outright canceled. Internally, it's considered dead. Here's what's worse, the game wasn't vaporware. According to former developers, the project had a working combat system, new cutscenes, updated art. This wasn't just a prototype, this was a game with real momentum, but no consistent leadership to keep it alive. Another great idea, crushed under poor management and corporate panic. EA's relationship with Titanfall continues to be complicated. We haven't had a proper Titanfall sequel since 2016, and despite Apex Legends being a massive hit, fans have begged Respawn to return to its mechs and wall running roots. Well, apparently, they were, kind of. In early 2025, multiple reports, including Bloomberg, confirmed that Respawn had been working on a Titanfall Universe extraction shooter. Think Escape from Tarkov meets Titanfall 2's movement system. It wasn't called Titanfall 3, but it was close. And by all accounts, it was promising. Respawn had allocated a strong team, development had cleared the early stages, and EA had greenlit more funding. Until it didn't. After a rough financial quarter, EA made cuts across the board, and this mystery Titanfall title was one of the first casualties. No official footage, no gameplay reveal, just internal optimism, and then silence. The real sting here is that Respawn wanted to make this. The team reportedly pitched it internally, but in EA's current ecosystem, if it's not a guaranteed billion-dollar live service title, it's too risky to finish. At this point, being a Titanfall fan is just a series of disappointments spaced 5 years apart. And finally, we have Wonder Woman. Announced by Warner Brothers in 2021, this was being developed by Monolith, the studio behind Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. They were bringing back their signature Nemesis system, adapting it into an open-world superhero game set on Themyscira. It sounded great on paper, dynamic enemy rivalries, personalized combat encounters, and a rare chance to explore one of DC's most underused settings in gaming. But behind the scenes, it was chaos. According to Bloomberg, the game suffered from major creative direction shifts. Some devs wanted a narrative-driven solo game. Others pushed for co-op and live service elements. Leadership kept changing, and classic Warner Brothers. They reportedly insisted on monetization systems early in development. By early 2025, after allegedly spending over $100 million, WB pulled the plug. Monolith was shut down, and the game joined the ever-growing list of what could have been. It's a textbook example of executive meddling sinking a promising title, and losing Monolith, one of the few studios innovating in open-world AI design, is a major blow. These cancellations aren't just a bunch of headlines. They're years of hard work, thousands of people affected, and entire worlds that players never got to explore. And while sometimes cancellations make sense, bad games, bad timing, what we've seen in 2025 feels different. It's not just failure, it's fear. Publishers pulling back not because something isn't good, but because it isn't safe. Let me know in the comments, which of these games are you still mourning, and which cancellation surprised you the most?